Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Today I will be speaking with Mike McDaniel, Vice President at Sealy Investment Securities. Thought for the day, we'll be talking about e-commerce, its growth, and how much further it has to go. There's a lot of money to be made in that area. And the action, find a way that you can participate in that growth, whether it's in the liquid, publicly traded market or in private investments. We'll be talking about one specifically with Sealy, but I'm sure there are lots of ways that you can jump on this bandwagon and make some money yourself. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mike, for being here. Again,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you watch our show, this is not the first time I've talked to Mike. But this is Mike McDaniel, Senior VP at Sealy. And I wanted to talk about the opportunity in the e-commerce space. And then at the end, we'll talk about an actionable idea that we can do with that. But just to start, Mike, can you just give us an overview, e-commerce, where it's come from in the last 10 years, where it's in now, and then where you kind of see it going?
Yeah, sure. E-commerce these days is really part of all of our lives. Every company has a spot in that. They're transacting that way. Everybody's getting things delivered to their house. But 10, 12 years ago, while Amazon's been around, I think around 10, 12 years ago when they started sort of the 2-day delivery, really was the game changer. When people started to realize they could order something, get it at home in a couple of days for relatively the same price. The sort of ease of life that provided was a bit of a game changer. And then, as you know, we went from 2 days to 1 day, and then we went to overnight, and then it's hourly delivery. Pull out your phone, order something, it comes to your house in a few hours now. And so e-commerce has really kind of grown quickly in such a way that I've been with Sealy. We're a 75-year-old company. But I've been there 5-6 years, and when I started, e-commerce made up roughly 10 to 12% of all U.S. retail sales. And today, sort of post-COVID, or as we kind of get into the second half of this thing, we're well above 20. And one of the statistics involved in that is just, as it pertains to Sealy in general, because we deal in distribution and warehouse space, is that for every dollar you spend online, it takes 3 times as much distribution space to get it to you. And so the growth of that, if you're going from 10 to 20, we've doubled where we're at, and it's going to continue to grow. So e-commerce is booming. Projections put it out, to continue to take away from more of that traditional retail space.
Wow. So say that again. For every dollar you spend, it takes 3 times the amount of space to get that item to you.
That's right. Yeah. Instead of walking into a brick and mortar store and buying it, and the way we used to do things when I was a kid, you go in, you buy it, they pull it out of the back and bring it out to you. Now, when you order that thing, going from warehouse to warehouse, even to storefront to your house, it takes 3 times as much distribution space to get it to you. You'll see a lot of times now, I have a 10-year-old son, you take him to Dick's Sporting Goods, you're looking for some shoes for football. He's got a flag football game on Sunday, so that's top of mind for me. You go in there, you take them, you find the size you want, and you say, okay, we'll take these. They don't even really have them in the store anymore. It's really just that's a showcasing thing for them. They'd say, hey, we got your size. We're going to drop ship them to your house tomorrow, and then it comes from another warehouse. So again, that's where that space is being utilized. It's a lot cheaper to rent that warehouse space closer to the end user than it is that traditional retail mall corner anchor tenant spot. And so it's a great savings for them and an easier way to distribute product.
Wow. So it's amazing. I think back, you said Amazon was only 20 years old, and it blows my mind because I think we would pay for the privilege of being able to shop at Costco, whatever the Costco's, membership price was. And then 12 years ago, you're paying this privilege to get it shipped to your house in 2 days. And I remember being a Prime customer and being like, I get all this stuff for free. And then they didn't tax it at first too, which is even cooler.
Even better, yeah.
But now you're at this place where it's accelerated out. And take me through, because I think this is super interesting when you were talking earlier, the effects that COVID has had with certain areas of people that really, I think, were resisting e-commerce. Take me through that, because I think that's really interesting in terms of its growth.
COVID probably pulled demand for delivery and the growth of e-commerce forward at least 3 to 4 years. We're on a projection. I think the retail sales are at like 17-18% in, say, March 2020. And by the end of it, we're 22-23%, which was kind of where they expected to be over 2 or 3 years. But the reason why, as you know, we're all stuck in our house. Mm-hmm. Our lifeline to get, all the hand sanitizer and batteries and, cleaning materials and all that stuff was to go online and order it either from somewhere local or Amazon or whoever it is. Everyone has an e-commerce presence now. If you don't, you're dead. So what that did is, as people started ordering online, I grew up in a very small town in Alabama. My parents are baby boomers. They're in their mid-70s. Never wanted to use their credit card online. Didn't want to get online if they're afraid of security and just not comfortable using those things. And then they were forced to do it. And then they come, they're like, yeah, son, this is actually pretty convenient. If we pay the same price, it's delivered to the house, right. Comes quickly. And what that did was you opened up, right now, the baby boomers' largest segment, or was the largest segment. I think millennials are actually larger now, but they definitely the group of the demographic and population that has the most money. And those folks, now that they've gotten used to that, they're not going back. The genie's out of the bottle, as they say. And these folks aren't buying, household items and tablecloths. They're buying $5,000-$10,000 worth of patio furniture and getting it delivered because they have cash. They want to entertain. They want to do things. And so that's a really neat effect that it had. And out of a pandemic, a positive effect on this world. The other thing COVID did was, as we all started to run out of the hand sanitizer, the toilet paper, the other things that were getting delivered from, halfway across the world or all the way across the world, and now those things are stuck, trying to unload in port cities, is the U.S. realized that the just-in-time delivery, where we don't want anything sitting on a shelf more than, say, 6-7 days in a warehouse, didn't work. And we needed to start to onshore, or we use the term onshoring, have those things here. And so the traditional warehouse, it's not a distribution center where things are coming in and going out, coming in one dock, going out the other, but just traditional warehouse space, really a building with 4 walls, a ceiling, and a parking lot where they just store things. We needed more of that. And right now there's a deficit of over 1 billion square feet needed in this country that doesn't even exist. So again, what that leads into in the distribution space is pricing power, rents increasing, no supply, and a lack of space needed by the companies, and again, every company out there, every sector.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering how long it was going to be for you to bring in toilet paper. Well, so because I think that's an awesome overview of e-commerce and how much it's accelerated. I think everyone knows, but to actually have the numbers put on it is helpful for people to see that there is an actual opportunity. And I think it's, for most people that have heard it for the first time, I'm speaking for myself, it's a much greater opportunity. 20% seems low, and so there's a huge runway for this thing to accelerate. So I want to pivot a little bit, because it's like, that all sounds great. And then I start to think, well, how do I take advantage of it? Other than buying Amazon, say, how do I take advantage of it? Especially if you're looking for something that's tax efficient. And I think that's where I wanted you to talk a little bit about Sealy as a company. It's a 75-year-old company, but talk a little bit about their expertise over that time, and then their pivot into e-commerce and why.
Yeah, so Sealy, as you said, family business, 75 years old. We're in our 4th generation. 50 years exclusively in the distribution space. So this isn't new to us. We've liked it for a very long time. We understand it well. We feel like it provides the best risk-adjusted return in the real estate world. Tenants are very sticky. They don't move very often. It's a very simple property type. Again, I mentioned earlier, 4 walls, a ceiling, a floor, and a parking lot. So, and usually a triple net lease structure, meaning the tenants pay the taxes, the maintenance, and insurance on the property. And so we like that setup for a very long time. It's been a sleepy sector. Not a lot of people paid attention to it. But since e-commerce has kind of put more of the wind in the sails of it, it's a much more kind of focused on sector. But, the opportunity in the way we've focused on it is, being the landlord of those properties, we really look for a few things. We're looking for infill locations, property types sort of in and around the city centers. We're looking for value add properties, which means an existing property that's usually in a great location. It's a great property, but has something wrong in the cash flow or management of it. And that's where our sort of 75 years of experience comes in, that we can buy that below replacement cost in an infill location. We deal in an inefficient market in our size we buy, usually between 5 to 50 million. Below 5 million is more of your local sort of country club group buyer. Above 50 million is more of an institutional buyer. So we go around and gather up, do sort of the grunt work to buy those 5, 10, $15 million properties, aggregate them together, and then sell those to the larger portfolios. And so the opportunity is to again be the landlord to some of our anchor tenants, or tenants you would know: Amazon, UPS, FedEx, Williams-Sonoma's distribution center in Memphis. We cover about 10 different sectors of the economy, all the way to clothing like Lucchese boots, which are very nice, sort of cowboy boots, and even L3 Harris, which is a military flight simulator builder, and that we have on their property in Dallas. So we're the landlords to those folks. Last year we raised rents on the properties we own anywhere between 14 to 40%. During COVID, yeah. And actually we received 99.8% of our rental income last year during COVID.
Good tenants.
Good tenants who pay the bills, which means for the investors, they get their rent, they get their income. And if you're raising rents 14 to 40%, we grew our net operating income almost 19% last year. That means that you'll have some upside at the end too, some growth in that value.
That's awesome. So I always hear about, residentially, we're behind in terms of building. Commercially, especially in this e-commerce space, we're behind
We're behind the 8 ball, yeah.
And, and you always hear about McDonald's owning all of their restaurants. And you're like the McDonald's leasing out to these franchisees, right?
Yeah,
Owning that, so you get to kind of come in with the power.
That was the Ray Kroc move.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
So give me some for comparative purposes. Like, I know it's sleepy, but it's also tax advantage. Take me through some of the ways. What if someone were to look to invest? What are you kind of projected out pro forma returns, and how much of that is income versus actual appreciation, because you are doing value add?
Yeah, so right now we pay a 5.04% annual distribution that's paid out quarterly, so divide that by 4. It is tax advantage. We're able to pass through the depreciation and the amortization of loans through the client. So generally, let's say 90+% of that is going to be tax sheltered, usually closer to 100. And then, yes, there's an opportunity for growth on the exit side of it. So your current income that's tax advantaged now, growth on the backside on the PPM or the prospectus for the fund, you'll see our projections in sort of that 10 to 14, 10 to 15 range is what you get on an annual basis. That's your IRR. So that's your cash and your growth on an annual basis.
That's a healthy return. And I know you've said it and I've said it as well. I think it can be sleepy. It can be a little boring, but
yeah,
I prefer to double my money in very uneventful ways. So
and realistically, this, as you do probably a great job with your clients, it's diversification. Right. It's a real asset. It hedge against inflation. It has pricing power if we have inflation, but also it is sleepy. It's a little boring, but this is probably anywhere from 5 to 15% of your portfolio. You've got a whole lot of other stuff you can get cool and exciting with and talk about at the cocktail parties.
Right.
We're, again, just sort of that more of an anchor of the portfolio, something to provide some ballast to some rough seas maybe ahead. We are certainly setting new highs daily in the market. And as the saying goes, trees don't grow to the sky. So at some point, there's going to be some harvesting.
Right. Yeah, I love it. We've seen these used to replace bonds. We've seen these used, obviously, to take some of the cash off the table with these equities. Even in certain circumstances, we've seen, potential 1031s, but I know we need to have a sizable chunk to do it. But there are all kinds of options to really diversify out a portfolio and help out with some tax advantaged income. Anytime I say that word tax lately, people get like their ears perk up. So I'll just say it again.
It's top of mind for sure.
Tax advantage strategies in an area that I think, early on in this podcast, you brought up and defined the opportunity extremely well. And obviously with that 75 years of experience, you've really kind of dug a hole in that niche. So you fit in it really nicely. So it's good.
It's all we do.
Yeah. Well, Micah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, great seeing you.
Real good overview, and we'll look forward to having you back in for an update soon.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Thought and Action Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow the podcast and leave a review. For more information on what's going on in the world of wealth, make sure to follow Family Fortune Financial on your favorite social media platforms. I look forward to you joining again soon.